Welcome to the Lord and Richards Show, a program that will enable you to become more financially independent and prosperous from a biblical point of view. Tune in each week to learn how to prosper through good markets and bad. Now, here's our co-hosts, Colin Richards, your biblical investment advisor, and Dylan Schoonover.
Welcome into the Lord and Richards Show. I'm Dylan Schoonover with CEO and founder Colin Richards of Lord and Richards. Colin, today we're talking inflation, and I tell you what, now it's so bad that a picture is only worth 200 words. It is just absolutely brutal
bad,
out
Dylan.
there.
That's really bad.
It's just brutal. So it's an ever-present, ever concern in the top of the mind for those that are retiring. You know, do I have enough is the starting point, but okay, now what are we doing about inflation? Because it used to be, well, we just got to outpace inflation. But when inflation's going here and then it's going here and we hear about it, you know, the Fed is talking about it. Are we raising rates? Are we dropping rates? There's just so many factors. So start us off and tell them, should we all be freaking out about inflation, or is there an ability to calm down and say it's going to be okay?
No, I think we should melt down and stick our head in the sand, Dylan. No, I'm kidding. I really think that inflation should be a part of your plan. It should certainly not be a reason to panic. It is going to happen. And by that, I mean the government targets a reasonable, in their mind, inflation rate for every year. They actually want to see inflation and view that as a healthy thing in an economy where not only prices, but incomes are going gradually up. Now, the problem you have is when you have prices going up faster than the incomes that are meant to support it. And that's when people feel the pinch. Nobody really notices if prices go up 5% and their incomes go up 5 or 6%, then it's a match. But where people really begin to get bent out of shape, and rightfully so, is when, because of government policies, that gap starts to reappear, our incomes are static and our prices are going up. And we saw that a few years ago coming out of the wake of COVID, when the government decided, hey, we're going to flood the system with money. Everybody spend, spend, spend. Well, what happens when you've got 10 people and they all want one TV sitting at the Best Buy store, right? You're going to gradually see those pricing go up over time. And so it's that situation that we need to be more concerned about.
Yeah, so talking about modern day right now, the discussion for, multiple years at this point is we've got to get to 2%. We've got to get to 2% for inflation. That's like the target number, but it's not happening, or at least it's not happening quickly. So is there a way within your investment strategy to say, okay, regardless of if it sits at 4, it sits at 3.5, and we're not getting down to the 2, that we can outpace that?
Well, I think, again, we look back at history. And when we've seen real double-digit inflation, I mean, we've had a bout with inflation, and the government has, through interest rates, been able to get that back down, basically to increase the cost of borrowing money so that companies and individuals slowed down on their spending. That's all they were doing. They say, we're going to make it more expensive until you guys stop spending so much. And then when we're done with that, we're going to tell you start spending again, you know. And so it's this constant battle that the government faces. Whether 2% is the magic number or not, what I'm worried about is the future. What if you're a retiree and you're living on income sources that don't move, and yet all of a sudden your prices are shooting up? What are we going to do about that? Because for most people, the only inflation-indexed income source that they're going to have typically in retirement is their Social Security. And a lot of times that's not exactly a close reflection of what the real costs are out there in the economy when you get your annual cost of living bump from Social Security.
Correct. And when you walk folks through at Lord and Richards, I think it's a little bit different. Some investment firms are just very focused in on what are your assets. You not only insist on it, but you make it absolutely a part of everyone's plan that they're submitting a budget to you. And that is a critical piece, I believe, for you guys when you're building that financial plan, right?
Well, it is, but you use the dirty word. Who likes the word budget, right? I mean, when we were growing up, if your parents said, well, we're on a budget, I remember for us for a while that meant that we ate pizza out of a box. I don't know if any of you guys remember the Chef Boyardee pizza.
What do they usually come in?
Well, different box. So a box of ingredients, and we made it at home.
Oh, wow.
Nowadays, you pay more for that. You can actually buy a pizza that you have to bake and pay more for it, but that's another story. But, we operated on a budget growing up, and that was because, income was only so much, and we had to keep our expenses under that. with retirees and the folks that we help at Lord and Richards, I really kind of call it a retirement freedom expense report.
Oh, that sounds much nicer.
It's a lot of words and it sounds a lot better because we're really talking about what do you enjoy living on? A budget sounds a lot like what do you have to get by, right? And so we ask that, yes, from every single person. Take a snapshot of what you're spending today, and then we'll help you dream up other things to spend money on down the future because you haven't thought of everything yet. And so we fill in the gaps because a lot of times when you're working, you're not thinking about, oh, I got Medicare premiums and things like that coming down the line.
Yeah, I certainly can attest that I have not thought about Medicare premiums at this point in my life. So I don't want to for a little while, but I suppose it could be prudent to do so. So you got someone who comes in, they walk through your door, let's say a 65-year-old couple, they've got $1 million and they are pretty risk averse. How do we start out with a conversation around, okay, they might come in and say, inflation's going to take me down, going to take me down, take me down. How do you relieve that fear?
Well, the cool way that we can do it, we have a lot of cool, fun devices that we use, and one of them is to simulate that. Let's just see what would actually happen. And we do this in every area, not just inflation. We simulate your taxes. We simulate market crashes as well as boom markets. We simulate healthcare expenses that are extreme, the kind that put you in the nursing home. We simulate the early death of a spouse. I always pick on the men, by the way, because they can handle that a little better. And by the way, they tend to die first anyway. Somebody asks the question, why do men always die first? And somebody else says, because they want to. I don't know. But whether that's true or not, the reality is that all of these things can conspire against your retirement. And if we just stick our head in the sand and say, I'm going to assume that I'm going to have the picture perfect retirement, level inflation, taxes never go up, the markets never crash, we're setting ourselves up for failure. So we simulate all of these things, not to depress you, but to arm you in advance. Because as they say, forewarned is forearmed. And so, or fortune favors the prepared. And so I want that fortune to be on our client's side, not against them.
So let's make that a real life application. Let's get in there and talk about assets. What assets can outpace inflation? What do you like in the landscape that you're using or utilizing for your clients?
Well, and I'm answering like a politician by answering another question first. But the first thing is make sure that your basic expenses are taken care of through a portion of your portfolio. And there's all kinds of financial tools, legal tools, and strategies that we'll talk about over the course of these episodes. But once you have that secure, then over on the other side, we call it a barbell. And I borrowed that term from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. He's a behavioral psychologist that studied people who are successful in investments and billionaires and so forth. On the other side, push the growth side. And what we see during the highest inflation period that our country has experienced in modern history, even as inflation was rising in the late 70s, early 80s, the S&P 500 quadrupled, 4x'd. So if you had had your money and your investments there, if you had known that, then your money would have more than kept up with the rising inflation that was just for a limited period of time. So the solution, one of them, is to have assets placed in high growth strategies. But let me just qualify that. Do not put your expense money that's going to cover the needs of your life there. Put the extra money that we barbell on the other side of the barbell in these more growth-oriented strategies.
And we're going to come back from the break and jump into those high growth strategies that Lord and Richards uses. We'll see you real soon.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back. We're talking about inflation and we're talking about high income strategies to outpace it. So Colin, let's talk about that. There's income streams that adjust. Some have protection built in, some do not. Where do you make sense of how do we, beat the market, not beat the market, but beat the inflation situations that we're seeing in the country while also still getting some guaranteed income along the way?
Yeah, so in addition to having some investments in traditional growth vehicles like the stock market that are not primarily income focused, we can also jump across the stream or the other side of the barbell, as I describe it. And over here on our income generating assets, we actually have tools and strategies that can grow with the market, with the economy, and also grow your income stream. And so one of those, for example, is the tried and true annuity. Now, I say annuity, we all yawn. We know that basically it's just a pension replacement. It's actually what pensions are. It's what Social Security is. It's taking a pot of money and converting it into an income stream. Yeah. But what a lot of people don't know, as exciting as it is to have an income stream for life, is that you can maintain control of that pot of money and have it grow as an investment. So that's one strategy. Or you can also take that guaranteed income that annuities have been known for over a century in America, and you can have that indexed to inflation or just rising and compounding with the returns of the market.
These are some of the strategies like some of the biggest endowments in the world, like Harvard use, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't use specifically an annuity because that's based on an individual life, but they're going to use other strategies that have a really neat linkage. On the one hand, you can have the safety and the security of banks, insurance companies, where your money is protected for life. It's never going to lose no matter what the market does, right? We know CDs do this, fixed type annuities can do this, certain types of life insurance, other financial tools. But what a lot of people haven't realized is that you can take that and exchange your low guaranteed interest rate, right? If we go out and get a CD and we're earning 3, 4, 5%, you can exchange that and the company will turn that around, the bank, the insurance, or the annuity company, and will plug that small amount into highly leveraged investments that can earn you a greater return. Now notice, I only said the small amount. I call that the egg laid by the goose, right? We have a goose that lays a golden egg, your interest, that can be traded in and compounded for more.
Yeah, explain that a little bit further because, it sounds like a good idea. Everybody hears the egg and the golden goose, but you spend some time teaching this in some of the other segments. Can you go a little deeper on that?
Yeah, I'd love to because I think it's not widely known, but it should be. This should be a part of all of our strategies in some form. Maybe for some it would be part of your income strategy. For some it'd be just part of your protection. For others it may be part of your growth strategy. But in this case, you can take, let's take a CD, for example. I call them certificates of disappointment because for the longest time you couldn't hardly get any interest.
Yep.
So back in the days when they were only paying 2 or 3%, people didn't realize that since 1987, institutions like Harvard, foundations, endowments were taking vehicles like this. Chase Manhattan created the first one. Put your money completely safe and secure so that it can never be lost, and then take that interest and invest it in the market, not in the traditional way, buying stocks and bonds. Let's say we had $1 million and we had 5% interest, that'd be $50,000. Well, they could take that $50,000 and potentially turn it into 70, 80, 90, 100 in a single year. You say, wow, that sounds too good to be true. Well, it's because they're leveraging that money. And because they're leveraging it, it can all be lost too. So every year you exchange the interest for the opportunity to make a zero when the market goes down because you lost all that interest in this highly leveraged strategy, or to make potentially a very nice return when the market goes up. So we get some of the up, but never any of the down of the market in these types of investments.
So who's that a good fit for?
I would say almost everybody, because I think depending on your risk tolerance, and by risk tolerance, I don't mean are you conservative, moderate, aggressive. I'm talking literally how much money are you emotionally equipped to handle losing, not only mathematically and scientifically, which we will help you figure out, but emotionally, what could you endure? And even some of the most aggressive investors, I've rarely had tell me they'd be willing to lose half their money, which happened to most of the country back in 2008.
Yeah, and I think that's where the fear is that sits in the back of people's mind, is that 2008 isn't so far away that they remember that. Maybe some people of even some of your clients may have considered retiring at that point. Maybe they couldn't retire because of what happened, or the people that were coming to you saying, I retired already, now what? So can you avoid that? Can you have a situation where you build a strategy and says, look, if 2008 happens again, or a similar, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes type of scenario, can something like that happen again? And Colin Richards insulates the clients from those situations and saying, I didn't lose 40% this time.
Yeah, the nice thing is that I've got enough history that I was there, right? A lot of our listeners may have just been in their teen years or early 20s not thinking about this, but I was there and sat down with people who brought their Kleenex out of their purses or whatever, or used mine. That's when I introduced Kleenex into our offices. No joke, I had no Kleenex before that time. and shared their tales of woe when their 401k turned into a 201k, and we saw kind of a flashback during COVID, but it was so brief that it didn't have the impact. But we of course are due for a bear market. They happen on a regular basis. And those tears, were warning signals to people. Well, the clients that we had placed in this part of the barbell that I'm describing to you, not one of them lost a dime in the 2007 to 9 crash. So my clients didn't lose their money during that time. Now, you could have other things in other strategies, but when we position money for this type of strategy that we're describing, you will never experience a market loss ever again in that strategy, but yet still have the opportunity to safely grow that asset.
Yeah, not only grow that asset, but oftentimes outpace those other options you talked about that are similar in the vein. If you think about maybe the idea of a financial house, this sits in the basement, right? Rock solid, safe, can't lose money in the foundation, right? And it competes really well against things like cash or CDs, right?
Right. And actually, in some cases, if the instrument is held long enough, and depending on what time period you're looking at, a portfolio like this that never experiences a loss with moderate returns can actually outperform another similar portfolio that can experience a loss.
So it kind of takes the concern of timing out of the equation. Would that be reasonable to say?
Yeah, we often, kind of the rule of thumb is it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. Well, that has to do with your at-risk investments. But with the portion of your portfolio on the barbell that you keep safe and free from risk, it's all about just putting the money in, and you don't have to worry about, do I pull this money out before the market crashes again, or when do I get back in? Because the people who are playing that game are losing that game. It's scientifically proven. You have to win every time if you're going to time the market. Here, it's a matter of knowing, okay, every time the market takes a drop, I have a floor under my feet. I can never go down again. And so I'll just wait it out. And the next time the market goes up, even if it starts from a lower point, let's say the market was cut in half, the next year it goes up by 10%, you can participate in that growth, even though the market hasn't caught up with itself.
That sounds great. Would it be reasonable to say that your clients, before they're your client, when they come to you, they're carrying more risk and more concern about inflation and their portfolio overall than after you've worked with them?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Most people have no idea about the risks that they're carrying in their portfolio. Again, they may have worked with an advisor, but they were just asked, are you conservative, moderate, aggressive? And they were put in what I call a cookie cutter portfolio, their moderate portfolio, or they're conservative, and they pay a fee for essentially nothing, because it's the exact same thing you could do on your own. Yeah, it's not an exciting fee to pay, I would say. If you're going to pay a fee, you should actually be getting in good investment advice, and you should have a well-constructed retirement plan, not just a group of investments clustered together in an account. Well, when we build that plan, we're actually going to find out, how do you feel about risk? What can you withstand? And we're going to barbell that portfolio so that part of your portfolio never experiences loss again. The other part that's maybe growth oriented can go up and down, but your lifestyle isn't hooked to that. So that peace of mind goes up, that anxiety goes down.
And that really ties in the retirement freedom element, where you truly feel free. So when we come back from the break, we're going to put a bow on this inflation topic. We're going to make sure that you leave this segment not feeling as worried about inflation as you had before we started talking about it. We'll see you soon on The Lord and Richards Show.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Welcome back into the Lord and Richards Show, catching us for our final topic today as we talk about inflation. Colin Richards, CEO and founder of Lord and Richards. It's great to get your insights each and every time. And we have talked a little bit about retirement freedom. We've talked about inflation. We've talked about concerns and worries. Now let's go to the fact that we're going to talk about, okay, how do you maintain, once you've gone through the plan, we've gone through, Lord and Richards has set you up, you're feeling good as you get the plan. How do you stay the course and continue to have that euphoric feeling as you guys help navigate retirees through retirement?
That's a great point, Dylan. That sense of euphoria is what we should all feel as we step out into retirement. We don't want it as this time of anxiety. We want a time of excitement and euphoria. So now you have your roadmap. We've built the 5 key areas of your plan. We've addressed the risk. We've addressed the need for stable, abundant, guaranteed income. We've addressed your estate planning, your taxes, the high cost of healthcare. What are we going to do moving forward? Well, you're actually partnering with a team. What's unique about Lord & Richards is what comes alongside of you isn't an individual, it's rather a team of professionals, tax professionals, estate planning professionals, investment professionals, and so on. And so you'll actually begin having ongoing meetings and support from several people on that team. That'll include your advisor, but it may include at some point an attorney and so forth. When we're talking about inflation, one of the tricks then is that this is not a problem that is solved on a piece of paper and a plan. It involves action. The plan is merely the playbook. And so when you step out into your retirement years, we're going to want to monitor that inflation and make adjustments from where we take the money. Because it's important that if you're just living on maybe Social Security and money from your investments, that we've tested in advance your ability to withstand high inflation, and we have a plan in advance to know where we're going to draw that excess money. That's why, again, going back to the barbell, this fund over here on one side that can grow kind of unrestricted and maybe has a little more risk is an optimal place to fill in. Maybe you were just tooling along, taking your income from Social Security, taking your income from your guaranteed abundant sources, but now you need a little bit more. We've built a reserve to fill that gap for you.
And to be able to access that reserve, you have to know when to take from where, right? And that's where our team comes in?
Yes, because everything is connected to everything. It's like a woman's brain, right? I love that illustration. Everything is connected to everything. And when you touch money in one part, you may affect your taxes. You can even unwittingly have an effect on the cost of your Medicare premiums by taking money from the wrong bucket. And so when we're adjusting for inflation and increasing your income, maybe putting a little bit more money into your bank account, we want to take that carefully from investments that will stick within your tax strategy as well.
Makes a lot of sense. And so going forward, for those who haven't met with Lord & Richards yet and are wondering what that looks like, and they've got concerns about their investments, maybe they don't even know they have a lot of risk, but they're concerned about how much money they're spending to maintain what they're doing. What does the first process look like? It's just picking up the phone, giving us a call, and then walk us through that.
Yeah, you just went right through my call to action there. Yes, you pick up the phone, you give us a call, you reach out to us on our website at lordandrichards.com, where we've got tons of articles. YouTube also is a great place to just see some of our other shows that we recorded. But once you finish kind of educating yourself about Lord & Richards, it's time to sit down and talk. And we have a 3-step process. It's pretty simple. It's not unique in that it's 3 steps, but it's unique in that you're going to experience something you've never experienced before. After you share with us your goals, your dreams, your values, we're going to build and design a roadmap, a plan that gets you safely all the way to and through retirement. 2 different stages. How you invest and how you act and how you work with your portfolio is different before you retire than after. What we've discovered is a lot of advisors and professionals specialize in one or the other. In our case, we're focused on designing before you retire a portfolio that will last throughout your retirement. So we're kind of straddling both with a high level of expertise in those retirement years.
What about those that say, I want to work forever, but I'm retirement age? Can we help them too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm probably one of those, until they literally knock me out and drag me off. I'll probably be fiddling around in the office, with my cane. You need it. But, I'm that guy that loves what I do and will continue doing it for the rest of my life. And many of my clients share that. They have fortunately landed in a career that they can't see themselves not ever doing. It's fun for them. And so what we want to prepare for is, well, what happens if you couldn't work? What if you had a health crisis? What if something changed in your life or family where you now had to spend time caring for a loved one? So we call that retirement freedom. It means that you're free to choose to retire or not. If you're working, it's because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah, that's a big difference too of the mindset, I think, whether you have to or want to. I watched my mother have to work as opposed to wanting to work. So hopefully all of our listeners and viewers will get to the point where they want to work and don't have to work. So,
well, and you can tell off the boss if you don't like what he says, and you know you don't have to work, right?
And I'm convinced that's why older people just say what they want to say, because they don't have anybody to answer to. So I was like, so what? I can just say it because that's how I feel. And so, we have to be a little more tactful when we're younger, I suppose. And then when we get to the point where everything's comfortable, we can just say what we want to say within reason. But thank you all for joining us. It's been a wonderful time having you listen and tune in. We hope you enjoyed the Lord and Richard Show. We'll see you again next time. And go visit us on our website or give us a call for any questions you have about your retirement planning needs.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Take the first step toward securing your financial future. Request an appointment today. Whether you're planning for retirement, managing your wealth, or optimizing your business finances, we're ready to help you achieve your goals. Visit us online at lordandrichards.com for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Investment advisory services offered through Lord and Richards Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor.